Hello, everyone. Welcome to Three Bones YouTube channel. Today, we're here to talk about the upcoming production of Confederates that comes, in just a couple of weeks. We're going to start in February, second weekend in February, all the way through. In today's conversation, we have our artistic director, Robin, with us, and we have the director for this show, Donna Marie, with us. We're going to talk a little bit about the show, and everyone needs to get to know it. But I say this every recording, and it's not a lie. Get your tickets now because it will sell out. If you go back and watch every time I do this, with every show I say it, and people don't believe me, and then you show up and we're sold out. So this is your warning. If you're watching this video before we open, go and get your tickets now. I'm going to start with Robin. Robin, can you tell us about reading through scripts and reading this one and deciding this needed to go in our season?
Yeah, so this is actually one of the rare times where I actually got to see the show before we selected it. So it was on our radar because it's Dominique Morisseau. She's one of our favorite playwrights. We've produced her work before, and we're always kind of keeping an eye on what she has coming up next. So this was playing at the Signature in New York, and I was able to go see it. And just really, I found it incredibly, funny and smart and incredibly relevant to what we're going through right now, especially with kind of the political movements against talking about race in the classroom, about the pressures that in modern day that women, Black women particularly, feel in higher education. And then also, I think, when we're talking about America reckoning with our history and having, really being intentional about educating around what the reality of slavery was. I think that also it's refreshing to see a story that is also about an incredibly empowered woman in that time period as well, and that she's able to find agency and make some pretty radical decisions in a system that is so oppressive and violent. So all of that, I think it was just like, oh my gosh, we have to bring this to Charlotte. We have to tell this story now, with all of the conversations around critical race theory in the classroom and banning books and banning history, and you're not supposed to talk about this. I mean, it's just an incredibly important piece right now, and it's excellently written and also very funny.
Thank you. You are right about the timing. I think in the world we are in right now, on fire a lot. This show touches on a few topics inside that fire that people are avoiding, but to be confronted with on stage in a way that does have its funny moments, and it is also touching, and it's also a think piece. I think is brilliant writing, but who doesn't know that? People should. If you don't know the playwright, we're going to go this way. Go read everything. This is also your warning. Donna Marie, you are new to the area and new to us. So welcome. Welcome to the Queen City, and welcome to Three Bone. Tell us about your experience learning that we were going to do this show and wanting to take the reins as the director.
Wow, it was a very serendipitous experience from the very beginning. I came in for an audition for another show, and then I got an email from Robin after I was not cast, and she said, I have a friend who is doing a wonderful production in Nashville. You should audition. I auditioned, got the part. Robin came to see the show. I think she was impressed. I think she liked it. And so she says, we got to get you working in Charlotte. And I said, well, I direct too. And she says, oh, you do? Then we have to get you working in Charlotte. And so from there, things just unraveled in the most beautiful way. I have met one of the most dearest women in my life when I met Robin. I have encountered one of the most incredible, loving, kind, considerate, culturally adaptive staff members, and an amazing crew and talented actors. When she said Dominique Morisseau, I said, "Oh, I haven't." Okay. Well, I've auditioned for her shows, but let me read. And immediately I fell in love with every character. I captured everything as you were talking about, the issues with critical race theory, the womanism, feminism, uh, uh, male privilege, you know, and again, how those two worlds are mirrored and parallel in such a way where it's really a shame to say we're still talking about it, right? Because we've been talking about it. This is what our country was actually built upon, right? And so here we are able to have a very poignant conversation that is unfortunately still relevant. However, when you are able to present such things through the arts, they are much more palatable to the audience members. And I believe that every show is an opportunity to broaden someone's mind by sharing new experiences and information. And this show captures a gamut of topics, you know, issues that we could certainly delve into. Um, and I would like to see, my greatest hope is that it moves a margin in somebody else's life. And as it has moved mine, I've learned several things in the research process for the show and the development of the show. Um, it has been one of the like every show is one of the best shows. This is just what happens to me. So I'm just adding this to the list
It's
of
another one
all
of
the
the
best
best.
shows.
That's,
It's
yeah.
another one of the best shows that I've ever directed and had
Mhm.
the opportunity to participate in. And I've been looking for an actor to bump so I can try and get a role.
Listen, Charlotte, if nothing else, is a wealth of talent. And often, Robin can attest to this, it is not always easy for Black women to take the lead in a show and more than one Black woman take the lead. So this show is also giving some opportunities that isn't always around Charlotte. Speaking of that, I know this is something you guys talked about, but I want to talk about it a little more, Robin and Donna Marie. We live in a city where some companies have chosen to highlight their show that stars predominantly Black cast in February. This show is happening in February. Now, that's not our jam. It's not it's not our only show featuring a predominantly Black cast, but I want to have this conversation because someone watching this may not know us and may make
Yeah.
assumptions when they look at the
Yeah.
date of this particular show. So talk about your thoughts when you knew we were putting this in February.
So I think, anyone who has been, close to our company for a while and has talked about our season process, knows that we sort of have a thing about not putting a Black show in February, because, and that's not because, I mean, I think it's so important to honor Black History Month, and there's a reason that is really important, as we were talking about, as history is continuing to be whitewashed. But I think for a very long time in our industry, theater companies have said, great, we're going to put our quote Black show, whether that's the only Black playwright in their season, the only Black director in their season, or what have you, we're going to put that in February and check the box. And that's a real problem to me, for me, and for so many people in the industry. And so we just have really pushed against that. The reason that we wanted to put this in February was because it is specifically centered on Black history and American history, and how that history of what Donna Marie said, right? How the founding of this country, the groundwater of this country based in racism and sexism reflects today, right? And so making that connection. And I think, I would just challenge all companies to be aware of their programming. I think we saw a phenomenal movement forward after the George Floyd murder that then created this racial reckoning in the country, but also in the theater industry with We See White American Theater and a lot of other movements. We saw a lot of programming become more diversified. And what I fear and what I'm seeing, not just in Charlotte, in the country, is reverting back to how we used to plan seasons, because people are worried about finances, which is valid. But we can't have said that was important for a year and it not continue to be important. And so just, we have another Black playwright, Black director, Black cast show in May with Thoughts of a Colored Man that we're so excited to produce and bring to Charlotte. And so it felt like, okay, this is a really good fit for Black History Month. And that was really intentional. And yeah, that's what I'll say about that.
It's worth mentioning because it is unfortunately some reversing happening in the world of theater, which is a space which is also rooted and systematic in things that this show is bringing, right? Access to theater, access to shows, who gets to produce, who gets to see, who gets to participate, are not far off from any of the themes in this production. So I think it's worth people hearing. And I know, Donna Marie, that might have been a concern for yours when you looked at the dates.
Oh yeah.
Listen, we gotta
But
talk
I'm
about
gonna
it.
tell you, no, because Robin was very, very what was it? She finessed the conversation. She actually broached it before I said anything. In my inner thoughts, I was like, oh, February, okay. And she immediately said, however, I want you to know that our theater company, and it rang true because I had just seen a production, The Wonderful World of Crowns, Kinks, and Curls, and that did not happen in February.
No,
So,
we
and
definitely.
then upon talking further about what the season looked like,
Mhm.
and I'm looking at, I had an opportunity to see Chinese Lady. That didn't happen in Asian American History Month.
Correct.
It happened because theater is relevant, because every day there are Chinese, there are Black, African, Irish, German, name it. Every day we exist in this world. So to relegate it, every day I'm a woman. To relegate me to only represent women during Women's History Month is asinine.
Yeah.
I'm a woman every day, and so oftentimes we get so I feel like just really cliche in the way in which we honor spaces. And it's National blah 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 month, it's National uh blah 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 week, or blah 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 day. And what does that really mean when you take that one day? If I eat donuts every day, and I don't, but I'd love to if I could. But National Donut Day is really what? Just a day that I probably would get a freedom. But if I'm
Yeah.
loyal, right, I might get the stamp that gets me to a free donut before National Donut. That's all I'm saying.
There you go. We do what the young kids say and stand on business at Three Bones. So that's going to
Yes, you
be
do.
on all of our shirts. Robin, I didn't tell you. It's just going to be, we stand on business.
I don't even know what that means. I mean, I do now, but thank you, Tiffany.
Listen, I'm surrounded by college students. It's what
There you go.
happens here. I'm hip enough. I want to commend you, Donna Marie, on your casting, and I want to talk about What I just mentioned a little bit ago, Charlotte is a wealth of talent, right? And you see so many people coming in to be in a show, and anytime the show has a Black woman lead, everybody's there, and we all know each other. So tell us what it was like. We do. Bless Charlotte. It is a rotation. But tell us what it's like looking at all of that talent and having to narrow it down specifically to your leads, who are incredible. Like, they are incredible women. But tell us
I will say,
narrowing it down.
I will say that I was very delighted as well as frustrated. And then I thought I could have just done a one-woman show. That's my leaning ego pressing through, breaking the fourth wall. Okay, so there were so many people who auditioned, and I said, that's, and I sat and I watched and I wrote my notes down, and I looked at my partner in crime, Danielle, and we'd give each other the look when we felt, the goosies and all of that. And then somebody else would come in and I'd be like, what just happened here? What just happened? You just threw my whole casting plan off. What happened here? And then I do remember a particular someone, maybe a couple people that Robin kind of threw in the mix. And I said, why did you sprinkle croutons on my salad? I didn't ask for that. Now I have extra, right? So it was a very challenging process, but it was so, I love as a director to be able to get lost in someone's performance, to forget that I am even there to audit. There were so many times that they were done and I was like, that's it. And I cut the script to audit. So I should have known what the stop line was, but I was waiting for more. And I must say, this cast, I feel like it's like a family. They have come together and they work together so well. They have been professional. They have been sponges. They have laid their hearts and their vulnerabilities and their talents on the line. And it has been just a lovely experience to work with this group of people. I am happy with everyone who I cast. I'm unhappy I couldn't cast everybody that I wanted to. And it just always makes you feel kind of like, woo-hoo, when you have to make those choices, right? But overall, you got to come see this show because you will be blown away. You will laugh. You will clutch your pearls. Oh, no, she didn't. You will have critical thought. You're going to process some feelings and some emotions. This cast is going to make you feel some things. And I am a harsh critic. And I think many people in the arts, we're judgy. We're judgy, right? But I tell you, I couldn't be happier. And you, upon seeing this show, will go home. And I'm gonna do a different strokes thing that Stephanie, I've heard her do it every night that I was there doing the show. You're gonna go home, you're gonna talk about it, you're gonna talk about it with your family, you're gonna talk about it with your friends. You're gonna have your friends talking about it, and then they're gonna come see the show, and then they're gonna go home and talk about it. So you might as well just go ahead and invite them to the show anyway, because this show is gonna give you a lot to talk about, and it's
Yes.
gonna be yummy, lovely pearls of conversation that can't do anything more than grow and build you and your character and your understanding.
And I'm gonna do a plug. This is my personal plug. If you go home and you find that you don't have the words for a conversation, guess what we do? We give you a discussion guide. So there's no excuses to have that conversation.
Full circle, standing on
Boom.
business.
And listen, we do.
That's what
Um,
you do.
we do. I am very proud of what we do. I am biased, obviously, as the education manager, but I am, as a bystander, if I remove myself, I'm very proud that each show gives way for conversations that some people aren't having. And occasionally I do run into people who say, you know what? I saw that show, and last show I ran into a banker who was reluctant to go into the show, and he left the show and we had a conversation about it. And he goes, I really was surprised. I'm gonna go home and talk about it a little more. Because that's what our shows do. You go in thinking you know, and you come out and you go, man, I didn't realize. Even if it's a lived
No
experience,
idea.
there's so much depth to what's happening. You go, wait a minute. And I've seen some beautiful conversations in the lobby. I look forward to seeing more, obviously, but we'll have that discussion guide. You have this conversation happening. We'll have a few more conversations on YouTube, and we'll have our actual talk back with our community partner on February 18th. So you should get your tickets then. Robin and Donna Marie, I want you to leave everyone with what you want them to take away from this show. Donna Marie, you did that a little bit, but I'm gonna challenge you to give me one more thing. I'll let Robin go first. What do you want the audience to take away after this production?
I think what's been really weighing on my mind lately, with some of the recent national stories of how Black women in higher education are struggling because of lack of support. I think for me, I mean, there's so much, but I think for me, that's something that I hope gets taken away with this, is like, how do we better support the Black women leaders in higher education, in our communities, in our families, because they're, that weight is uneven, and because of systemic reasons. And yeah, how do we prevent that tragedy from happening?
Thank you. I appreciate that. That is a truth. There's a lot of boulder carrying on the weight of Black women in this country. It always has been, even when we would pretend it's not. Even when we say, oh, I was able to do this and live a life. Yeah, you did. And you had a staff back then who looked a lot like my people doing the work, even nursing your children. Your children are alive because, so I think that carries a lot. I look forward to that too. All right, Donna Marie, more than conversation, what do you want people to take home from this show?
There's a very poignant piece of poetry that was written by Bea Richards, and it's called A Black Woman Speaks. And that poem speaks to this play. And just in thinking about it, now my mind is trying to figure out how we're going to incorporate that poem being read some kind of way. I don't know.
It'll be in the discussion guides. It's one of my most favorite poems ever. I performed it as a teenager often. Girl, I got you. Yes. Is it right that I, a woman Black, should speak on white womanhood? I got you.
Yes.
We're here.
So I think about that particular piece. I think about how I believe it's only 100 years prior, Sojourner Truth was also giving a similar speech at the first women's rights convention in Akron, Ohio, 1861, I believe it was. And again, we're still having these conversations, right? But if we can get to two things. One is that Black people are not a monolith. Every character in this story is representing someone, some experience that a Black person will have had. And we get so hung up on the Black experience and what it's supposed to look like. And some of those things, some of those conversations come out in the play. This familiarity that we should have based on kinship and things of that nature, or this familiarity that we should have based on kinship and all of that, right? So to learn that we are a dynamic people, that we are not a monolith, that we deserve to take up space, that is very important to me. And the other thing, and just piggybacking off of what Robin was talking about, if we can move to a place, we have strong Black women like Taraji P. Henson. You know, this is happening everywhere that Black women exist. The bottom line, how do we change that narrative and create more opportunities, like Robin created an opportunity for me to be able to have my directorial debut with Three Bones Theater? That's an opportunity for a Black woman to stand in a place of leadership and creative um, faith, right? August Wilson didn't necessarily want white people directing his plays. He didn't believe that they would necessarily truly understand culturally the experience enough to truly extrapolate everything out of a story that would be rich for the Black audience experience. So Robin has not taken up space. She's given space. She's given opportunity. And I am appreciative and honored to take up space at Three Bones Theater. And I keep telling her if she get a budget for me, I'll stay, I'll hang on, I'll see what we can do. And, you know, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, we are thankful having you at the reins of this production and coming into our family here. Thank you both for taking time out today to talk about this show. Again, if you are watching this, this is your warning from Tiffany. She gives them often. Get your tickets now. Because without a doubt, I will see at least two of you in person that says, man, I thought I could get them at the door. Get them now. We can do
I got
this.
some goodies. I don't know. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Can you see that?
That you disappeared. Boom.
Can you see
We
it?
got it. They will be
Can you see
out
it?
in your neighborhoods. Check your coffee shops, but you know where to go, threebonetheater.com. We've got you taken care of. Follow our socials. Stay tuned for our next conversation with our community partner, Creed, for this production. And we'll see you at the theater. Everyone have a good one.